So good morning, everyone. I'm Tanya Fir, the UCP candidate for Calgary-Peigan. I'm so pleased to be here today and to be joined by UCP leader Danielle Smith, UCP candidate for Calgary-Buffalo, Astrid Kuhn, and UCP candidate for Calgary-Mountain View, Pamela Rath. We are 5 days away from Election Day, the day that Albertans get to choose which direction they want the province to go. Albertans can choose to keep moving Alberta forward with the UCP plan for growth, opportunity, and safety. Or they can choose to go backward to the same recycled NDP plans that Albertans soundly rejected 4 years ago. Plans that would shrink the economy, reduce opportunities, and fail to address public safety. The top issue on Albertans' minds as they go to cast their votes is the economy, and that makes sense because Albertans know that our economy has turned around. Investment is up, business and corporations are up, jobs are up, average weekly wages are up. Albertans know that we cannot risk it all to go back to the failed economic policies of the NDP. And to clearly lay out the ballot box choice for Albertans, I'd like to invite UCP leader Danielle Smith to the podium.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tanya. I'd also like to recognize our candidates, Pamela Rath, UCP candidate for Calgary-Mountain View, and Astrid Kuhn, our UCP candidate for Calgary-Buffalo. And good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Elections matter. Policy matters. They matter for the economy, they matter for affordability, they matter for healthcare, and they matter for public safety. The key to success for Alberta families is a strong economy. A strong economy means more jobs for Albertans. It means more money for health, for education, and for supports for the most vulnerable. And a strong economy means more opportunities for everyone. Rachel Notley and the NDP have a different idea. In 2015, they introduced a carbon tax and raised taxes on Alberta job creators. Businesses closed. Investment fled the province. Albertans moved away by the tens of thousands. And now the NDP is promising to do it all over again, and with an even higher tax increase. A 38% tax hike on business owners and job creators. A 38% tax hike that will hurt your ability to build a successful business. A 38% tax hike that will make things more expensive for Alberta families like yours. And just like their tax increases did the last time. According to their own projections, Rachel Notley and the NDP's 38% tax hike will burden Alberta job creators with more than $6.2 billion. $6.2 billion over 3 years in additional costs. Costs that will lead employers to lay off employees, pass the costs on to families, or just move elsewhere. This tax hike has been panned by economists, community organizations representing employers, and labor associations because they're concerned about job losses, businesses moving away, and reduced government revenues to pay for government services and supports for those who need them. The UCP has a different plan. When we cut taxes in 2019, investment returned to Alberta. More Albertans started opening businesses, and now more Albertans are working than ever before in our province's history. And more Albertans than ever before are working in full-time jobs that pay mortgages and buy groceries. More Canadians are choosing to move to Alberta for the opportunities we have, thanks to a strong economy. Families, job creators, entrepreneurs, employers, and business owners know that low taxes, good jobs, and high wages matter. It means more money in their pockets so they can support their families and grab hold of the opportunities available to them. And they know that stability matters. Stability that taxes won't go up. Stability that when your family chooses to live in this province or you choose to create jobs here, you can count on a government that maintains Alberta's tax advantage. That is why I'm pleased to announce that Bill 1 of a re-elected United Conservative government will be the Taxpayer Protection Amendment Act. This legislation will ensure no government can increase your personal taxes or taxes on job creators without approval from Albertans through a referendum. This expands on the Taxpayer Protection Act's current restriction preventing a provincial sales tax from being imposed. This commitment will protect Alberta job creators, employers, employees, families and investors from job-killing NDP tax increases. Tax increases that Rachel Notley is running on that will drive away businesses, investment and jobs once again, reducing government revenue and putting our world-class healthcare and education systems at risk. Tax increases that will make life more expensive for Albertans. So in this election, Albertans have a choice. A $7.5 billion choice between voting for the UCP, which will deliver $3 billion in tax cuts, our tax cut for all Albertans, extending the fuel tax holiday, our discounts for seniors' fees and services, and our graduate retention tax cut, or choose the NDP and get more than $4.5 billion in tax hikes. A re-elected UCP government will keep $3 billion in Albertans' pockets and to spend on groceries, pay the mortgage, or whatever it is they need. Rachel Notley and the NDP would take $4.5 billion from Albertans despite the job losses to pay for their wasteful spending. And just like before, they would take your money and, through debt, even your grandkids' money to pay for their mistakes. This election is a choice between a united Conservative Party that's lowered taxes, balanced the budget, and returned Alberta to its place as the economic powerhouse of Canada. Or we can choose to go backward with the NDP and their recycled policies that hiked taxes and debt, drove out jobs and investment, and sent Albertans fleeing elsewhere for opportunity. The United Conservative Party has a solid, stable, forward-looking plan that Albertans can rely on, a plan that ensures stability for job creators and opportunities for all Albertans. Rachel Notley, on the other hand, has nothing to offer Albertans other than fear, negativity, and misinformation. We are running on our record of successes. Rachel Notley is running away from her record of failures. Thank you, and I'd be happy to take questions.
Thanks, everybody. We have quite a few questions, so I just ask if you have a question. It'll be one question per journalist. Please visit Justin with the microphone. Let's go to our first question.
Cian Bexley with the Counter Signal. Justin Trudeau's close friend and special rapporteur, David Johnston, just announced that there's no need for a public inquiry into Chinese Communist Party interference in the federal election. I'm wondering, as Premier, are you satisfied with how Canada's First Minister is handling such an issue? And are you worried about that happening in Alberta?
You know, I have asked before whether there is any concern about foreign interference in Alberta's elections, and I have been assured that there is no evidence that there is any election interference taking place. I'm very pleased to see that, and we'll continue monitoring it. Any reports of interference by our enemies are things that we need to take seriously, and but I can assure people that we do not appear to have those problems in Alberta.
Hi, Rachel Emanuel with True North. This announcement today was about personal taxes or taxes on job creators. I'm wondering if your government would also expand to include the carbon tax if there ever comes a day that the federal carbon tax is scrapped under a Conservative government, for example.
Well, we're fighting to eliminate the federal carbon tax. We've been asking for the federal government, which is supported by the NDP and a coalition, we've been asking for them to stop the increase and to reduce it. We're facing an affordability crisis. Instead, they increased it April the 1st, and they intend to increase it 300% by 2030. Rachel Notley has not stood up for Albertans on this issue. She has not asked her federal leader, Jagmeet Singh, to stop making that a condition of the support for the Liberal government. And I think that goes to the credibility of Rachel Notley when she says that she cares about affordability. If she cared about affordability, she would be standing with us saying to end the retail carbon tax and to make sure that that it's not there to increase the cost of everything. So we are going to continue fighting to remove that carbon tax. That is our first priority.
Hi, Ms. Smith. Michael Rodriguez, Calgary Herald. There was an open letter from doctors released by the NDP this morning. Continued crisis in emergency rooms, collapsing emergency rooms. They pinned it partially on government policy. What's your response to that?
Well, look, we chose a new leader in our party in October, and one of the very first things that I did was to make healthcare reform our top priority. I had been hearing very many of the same concerns that the doctors raised, which is why we knew we had to deal with it. I put in an official administrator, and we got to work talking to nurses, doctors, paramedics, other frontline health professionals, and we're implementing their ideas, and we're already seeing results. We're seeing that we've reduced hospital wait times, we've reduced wait times for ambulance. Code red alerts are almost a thing of the past in Calgary and Edmonton. Rural ambulances are staying in rural communities, and we're reducing the surgical backlog by 3,000 surgeries a month to the point where we'll be able to completely eliminate that backlog by this time next year. Now, the next thing that we have to work on, and everybody agrees on this, is that we need to look at a different approach for how we do team-based practice for primary care. There's some great models out there for primary care networks. It's part of the reason why we've dedicated more money to that. We've got $2 billion that we're putting forward to expand out primary care. We're going to be seeing in the future team practices with doctors and nurse practitioners, LPNs, and other health professionals so that everybody has access to a medical doctor and the care that they need. And we are also making great progress in recognizing credentials. In April alone, the Nursing College recognized credentials for 1,400 nurses, more than the previous 3 years combined, which allows for us to be able to continue that recruitment. And we've got to do more. I appreciate everything that our frontline doctors are raising, everything that they've experienced. Help is on the way. We had a lot of progress that we made in 6 months, which is why we need 4 more years to continue on the great progress.
Hello, I'm Nicole with CTV Calgary. My question today is about, we're hearing some reports that UCP door canvassers are allegedly encouraging people to vote for the candidate and the party, not for you specifically as leader. Is that true? And I guess if so, what are your thoughts on that?
One of the things that I appreciate about my caucus, and I think people should appreciate about me, is that I love to have a robust debate, and I love to have my UCP MLAs represent the views of their constituents, and then we make decisions together as a group. That's how the caucus works, and I'm delighted that my candidates are able to go door to door saying that they have a real voice and that they're able to have real input on real issues, because that hasn't always been the case, but that's the kind of leader I am.
Sean Polzer, Western Standard. Any thoughts on the Calgary fireworks ban and alternately provincial police force, given that it's the 150th anniversary of the RCMP?
Well, I would say about the provincial police that one of the things that we heard loud and clear from our municipal leaders is that they wanted to be able to have the choice and kind of policing they have for their community. We've already had over a dozen municipalities ask for grants so that they could explore different policing models, different policing options. And I'm so pleased with our sheriffs. They are doing such a tremendous job. It's part of the reason why we have increased the number of sheriffs. We've embedded them in Calgary and Edmonton with our police services so that we can tackle the issue of public safety in our 2 major cities. We're creating new dedicated units within the sheriffs to deal with gangs and organized crime, gun smuggling. We'll create a new unit for fentanyl. I think that that's what people want us to see. They want us to see that we've got our various police services that are working together so that we can deliver public safety to all Albertans. And so that's the approach that we're taking. It appears to be very positive. We're getting great feedback on it, and we're going to continue to do more of the same.
Hi there, Ms. Smith. Catherine Cullen with CBC Radio's The House. I want to talk about the rest of Canada for a moment, who might see you with your Sovereignty Act, the prospect, the door still being open to pulling out of the Canada Pension Plan, and worry that a Smith government would be bad for national unity. Would those folks be wrong?
Look, no one is touching anybody's pension. Pension belongs to pensioners. It belongs to Albertans, and no one is going to be touching their pension. That's another example of the misinformation that the NDP keeps spreading because they don't want to talk about their record. I would say that one of the things we needed to do is that we needed to send a clear message to Ottawa that they have to respect our jurisdiction. And I think they are beginning to understand that they can't just waltz in and try to dictate to us how to manage our resources and how to manage our power grid. When you look at Ms. Notley, she basically gave the federal government the agenda that they're running on now with the just transition of our energy workers, with phasing out coal and spiking the price of our power bills, with emissions caps, with a carbon tax. Those are all her ideas, and these are all the things the federal government has done, and we didn't get social license as a result. They didn't help us get Energy East built or Northern Gateway, or help us when Keystone XL got cancelled, or the Tech Frontier mine, or they continue to have a tanker ban on the West Coast. They continued to bring through Bill C-69, the No More Pipelines bill. And what has Rachel Notley done? Well, heck, she's got a candidate running in Airdrie Cochrane who was arguing against Alberta on the side of the government, of the federal government, in maintaining Bill C-69, Sean Fluker. He works as an executive director for a University of Calgary public interest organization that represents the Concerned Association of Physicians for the Environment. He was arguing against Alberta in that case. That speaks volumes, I think, about the kind of approach that Ms. Notley would take versus the kind of approach that we will take. Absolutely. I will unapologetically stand up for our energy sector, and I will continue to make sure that the federal government stays in its own lanes. That's what the rest of the country should take from a re-elected United Conservative government.
Hello, Ms. Smith. What is the current status of UCP considerations towards Sheila Annette Lewis, who requires a life-saving organ transplant to survive, but was denied because of arbitrary COVID vaccine mandates, and those who will face similar setbacks in receiving health care? Is your government doing anything to ensure that unvaccinated tax-paying Albertans who fund this system are still able to receive timely and appropriate access to the health care they may need to survive?
I understand that organ transplant decisions are very complicated, and they're made by a national body on the basis of survivability, and I'll defer to the experts on that.
Hi, Bill Graveland from the Canadian Press. Apparently, some of the campaign organizers in Lacombe and Ponoka have been suggesting that the candidate there will be sitting in caucus if elected. Is that your belief of what's going to happen?
I've made it very clear. I've made a decision. She will not be sitting with the UCP caucus.
Hi, Ms. Smith. Jason Markusoff from CBC. You've told us to discard what you said 2 years ago about private health care, discard what you said last year about pensions. You're asking for a 4-year term. What should we think about what you say now is going to mean in 2 years or next year?
Well, I've said before that I had a different job before. Being a radio host is very different than being Alberta Premier. And as Alberta Premier, I know I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I hope people understand that when I make mistakes, I own up to them and try to make amends. And I will always take the guidance of Albertans. They're my bosses now. And I'll always take guidance as well from my UCP MLAs. I think that we have such a strong, unified team. We've got incredible talent. We've got 48 incumbents that are running against. We've got that institutional knowledge and memory. We've got some fantastic new candidates like Pamela and Astrid. And I think that people should judge me by what I've done as opposed to what I've said.
All right, operator, let's go to the first caller.
Dave Kaiser, Global News.
Good morning. Sorry about that. Question for the UCP leader, Ms. Smith. You know, you talked a little bit about the NDP there and fear and smear, and I'm just kind of wondering, do you feel that Albertans are becoming increasingly divided here in this election? Also, I'm just a little curious. I'm actually on the steps of the ledge here where Archer Pulowski is expected to be up momentarily, talking about other calls he had with you. So I'm just wondering, how many conversations have he had with Archer?
The person in question has been found guilty, and I have nothing further to say on that. When it comes to, what was your first question, Save?
Sure thing. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there. My first question was just about increasing dividedness throughout this election and how you feel that impacts Albertans from both sides of the aisle.
You know what? I felt like it was important for us to run a positive campaign on my record in the last 6 or 7 months, as well as the record of my entire caucus and cabinet team as a UCP government. I'm really proud of that record. It's why we've been able to talk so much about the creation of jobs, in the investment increases, the diversification of the economy, the fact that more people want to move here than ever before. Those are all such positive things, and that's a record I'm very proud to run on. I think people want to see that continue. I think that candidates and parties that run nothing but fear and smear and misinformation, they're trying to tap into a negative emotion, and I just don't think Albertans are there. I think Albertans feel really optimistic about this province, and they want a leader who is going to reflect that optimism. And I know that when we come together as a family, an Alberta family, we can overcome any obstacle, and I think people are ready to put some of the division of the past behind them, and they want to move forward. That's what our campaign is all about.
Operator, next caller, please.
Catherine Grakowski, Alberta Today.
Thanks. I want to follow up on Bill Gravelin's question. You said that Jennifer Johnson will not be sitting in caucus. However, you had also told CTV that you believe in redemption and that if this candidate puts in the work, she can come back to the party. So I wanted to know whether she has a membership in the party in good standing, and if she is allowed back in caucus, who gets to decide whether she has put in sufficient work?
Well, I've made it very clear that I've made the decision that she will not be sitting with our caucus should she be elected. And that's final.
All right, let's go to our last caller.
Don Braid, Calgary Herald.
Premier, could you take us back to the promise of Bill 1 in your next government, should you have one? I'm just wondering, first of all, does that mean that the 0 to 60,000, 8% bracket you're creating would be written into stone forever, like the other current tax rates? And also, could you give us a little more clarity on what it would mean for business tax? You mentioned tax when you have previous remarks today, a tax for job creators. Are you talking about, when you say that, about freezing corporate income tax?
Right. So we can, the way we're going to structure this act is that we can always reduce tax rates, and we don't need to have a referendum for that. So that's why we're going to create a new rate of 8% on incomes up to $60,000, and that will reduce taxes for those below $60,000 by 20%, and for those above $60,000, deliver a $760 tax break for an individual and $1,520 per family. The corporate tax right now is 8%. And when we pass this legislation, that would be sending a message to the business community that it will stay that way. And the only way it would change is if the government put it to a referendum of the people. There have been now countless commentators who have talked about the whipsaw that the corporate sector is experiencing from having seen it go up to 12%. We brought it down to 8%. Now Ms. Notley is threatening to bring it up again to 11%, which is a 38% increase. We have had the Alberta Chambers of Commerce say that that creates business uncertainty. We've had the Alberta Enterprise Group say so. We've had economists like Jack Mintz and others, and we've even had a union. CLAC has said that it would create job losses and instability. So this is just reaffirming that a united Conservative government, if re-elected, this is how strongly we feel about creating a stable environment for business investment, that this would be our very first act of government, Bill 1.
Okay, thanks everybody. That's it for today.
Thanks everyone.
When you say final regarding Jennifer Johnson, do you mean